Hello, welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 185. It is
December 8th, 2013. I had to move my speaker so I could see the date. I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les.
I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
And yeah, it's been a pretty quiet week, which is good. But we'll get into chatter bits later. So, what are you working on?
I'm working on, so Leslie was here last Saturday.
And you know what? It feels like it was a month ago.
Or last Friday. It was Friday. It does feel like it was a while ago. And I was like, hey, I need to cast on some new stripy socks. Here's a bunch of yarn. Pick one that I should... Actually, I still have the bunch of yarn right here. Here's a bunch of yarn. Pick which I should do. And she picked, out of all those lovelies, some yarn from Mustache.
It's Stacy's... her rivalry name is Free Flower, and
it's M-U-S-T, separate word, S-T-A-S-H. Oh, there it is. Ha! I still have the tag. And the tag looks like that.
Yep.
Once you move stuff around on this table, you can find stuff. And this is the Perfect Self-Striping. And it is 10 Days Fiesta. It is a 75-25 blend, so 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is 460 yards. And she does the little
QR
thing,
code.
yeah, that thing that you can scan and it does magical things.
Brings you to an internet page.
Magical things. And that is, her shop is mustacheshop.bigcartel.com. And so I started working on this, and it goes, it starts with a purple, then a green, then a variegated orange, then a blue, then a red, then there's like 2 rows of this black with gold, and then back to the purple. And it just does that over and over and over again. And typically the stripes are around 1 to 2 rows long.
I'm digging the skinny stripes, though. It looks good.
Yeah. The problem is with the skinny stripes, so I've been thinking about this, and I put in an afterthought heel. It's just a typical toe-up afterthought heel, Haya size 1 circular, so 2.25, and I'm magic looping. Is I don't think I want to do the skinny stripes on the cuff, because every single row there's going to be blips from the row below, almost.
Oh, yeah, for when you do ribbing you're talking about. Yeah.
So I'm going to rib the cuff, and there'll be constant little blips where the purl bumps are of the row, the color of the row below. So I think I'm going to do a contrast toe, not toe obviously because that's already done, heel and cuff, and I put the waist yarn in. It's that black for the heel, and I'm debating right now what color to use. So I have a gray that's in my stash in another room.
Can you tie in one of the colors from the stripes maybe?
I could, or I could just do a similar tone but different, like blue, like that's a jeans blue, and maybe do that, or a black or a gray. I don't want it to be matchy-matchy because there is some, because it is hand-dyed, there's definitely some variation. Let me get it close for you. You can really see there's some variation even in the solids. Like, and that's the cool thing about hand-dyed. I'm not complaining about it at all. That's why I like hand-dyed yarns. Is you get those little blips and it's not solid. They're more of what we would call semi-solid. So I think I'm going to do either this blue, which has been in my stash for forever, like from the first year they did that contest that they do in the spring that Jane always does. I did it for 1 year.
Sock Madness?
Yes. I bought this for Sock Madness. The first year there was Sock Madness when I got to like the top 8. I bought this in a black to do colorwork socks in case I got that far, and I didn't get that far.
So you should divert here and explain what Sock Madness is for anybody that doesn't know.
It's changed since I've done it. So I haven't done it since the first Spring Fling, which was what, 2007? 2008? Something like that. I did it that year. And basically what it used to be is like 64 knitters would sign up. Now I think they do open, and then you have to be within the top so many. And you compete. You get the pattern all at the same time. And whoever finishes it first moves on to the next round. Mm-hmm. So they email out the pattern. You get the patterns for free, all of them, which is really cool.
And I will say there have been some really amazing designs that have come out of the contest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some really, really neat stuff. And our friend Jane does it every year. And I think Linda Hitt does it almost every year as well.
I think she does as well, yeah.
They are hardcore. But anyway, you're trying to knit a pair of socks as fast as you can.
Definitely within a day, maybe 2 at the most.
Yeah, and there's been colorwork socks, there's been cabled socks, there's been slip stitch socks. So you're moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
So anyway, this came from that time period of my life. And it is Knit Picks Gloss in the Dusk colorway. So it's very old. So I have this, I have a black, and then I have, I should have brought it in here, a gray that's trekking that might work as well. And I'm actually leaning towards this or the gray. What do you think?
Of the 3, I would pick that just because it's closest to the colors there. If it were my sock, I would probably try to match one of the colors as closely as I could. But I'm much more matchy-matchy than you are.
So, yeah. I don't know, because regardless, it's going to be off. There's no way I can match these colors.
Oh yeah, it's going to be. It's not.
So I'd rather it be like total contrast,
intentional,
but still within that color family. Like it still goes with that stuff, and it'd go perfectly fine with jeans.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But that is all that I am knitting on right now. I do have. I don't know where the socks went. I was working on. I still have the baby vertebrae on the needles. That just needs the ribbing in the sleeves. I really should just finish that off. I still have the party elephant socks on the needles. And I just need to do the fish lips kiss heel, but it's a new heel to me, so it's just finding time. I might do that tonight and sit down.
And concentrate.
And yeah, I have to watch the video. Yeah. And do that, and then I can just work on the foot maybe at work tomorrow a little bit. We have an after school meeting. So, yep, and this is was it Yarn vs. Zombies? I think, yeah, out of Australia in the Party Elephant colorway. Cool. So I have lots of things in the needles surrounding me, but the only thing that's gotten work on, and actually I don't think y'all have seen this before because Leslie made me knit it last Friday. So
yeah, well, it was still in the skein when we were talking last week. So, and I kind of chose that for Laura because that's one of the skeins I want to cast on this week. Laura and I were talking earlier, and we're both very I feel like I need to have 17 things on the needles, and. For a while, I was very monogamous. When we started the podcast, I was very monogamous, and I would only work on one thing at a time. And it's gotten to the point now where I have sort of evolved into more of a Laura when it comes to that. Like, I've got my one project that kind of goes with me back and forth to work, and I've got one that's like when I'm mindlessly knitting at night, and then I've got one where, I'm kind of paying attention to the TV, but mostly I'm knitting and paying attention to that, so... I don't know. I want to cast on 7 pairs of socks, and one of them is my Candy Crush, and Neelix is here.
Hey, Neelix.
One of them is my Candy Crush yarn by Stacy of Mustache. One of them is my Thank You for Being a Friend, which is a Golden Girls reference from Sadie of Knitter's Nightmare.
That's a good one.
I want to cast on my Tattooed Lady yarn, which is from Gail of Gail's Art. There's so much.
I don't think I've seen that yarn.
There's so much I want to get on the needles. Well, I'll cast it on this week, and then I'll show you next week.
That'll be fun. Neelix is everywhere.
He really is. And he doesn't bother any of my stuff, so y'all don't have to worry. Anyhow, so I have several things on the needles right now. One of them I dug out, and this is going back and forth with me to my work as just sort of my... I don't often knit at work because I can't, because my job... requires me to be on a computer and I'm digging into code or whatever, so my hands are busy. But occasionally I'll have team meetings or whatever, and I've spoken to my boss and gotten approval to knit during those as long as I'm engaged in the conversation, which I always am. So anyway, this
Humberto's
is...
like right outside my door yelling. He's been sleeping all day in my spinning chair, so I couldn't spin today because he was sleeping, and then he gets upset if I move him.
He can hear me, and he misses me. That's what
He can't hear you because I have the earbuds in.
Oh, that's true.
He's just being a brat.
Just let me live in my illusion, okay?
It's like me saying hi to Neelix. I know he can never hear me, but I like to pretend he can.
So I'm using... this is
yay!
my Simply Sock Yarn company. This is the Seattle Coffee Blues. And every time I see somebody post a picture on Instagram or Ravelry of them going to this yarn shop, I really want to go.
I know. We need to figure out a way to get there somehow. Where
So
is
this-
that yarn shop? Is it...
It's Ohio, I think.
I was thinking
Indiana. I'm sorry, Fort
Yeah.
Wayne, Indiana.
We can make that work.
So, anyhow, this is the cake that I've got left. I had finished one sock a long time ago. This was a Hugo sock by Stephanie Bold.
Yeah.
And I basically just cast on and started the ribbing.
So that's a blue, a brown, and then a lighter blue?
It's kind of a foresty green.
Okay.
And then sort of a...
On my
seafoam
monitor, it's
almost.
bluing out a little bit.
And then a chocolate. Yeah, it probably is. And it's just on the back, it's just plain stockinette. On the front, it's got sort of a chevron shaping, sort of.
Cool.
So I just cast on the ribbing, and this just goes with me back and forth to work. It doesn't get a ton of work on it, but it's mindless enough that I don't have to.
What needles are you using?
These are the Knitter's Pride Nova that I got at Webb's. So they have the black cable, and they're metal, because every needle I use is metal. Buffy! Stop. Whatever you're eating.
Do you want to explain who Buffy is?
So, a month and a half, or maybe longer ago, Michael and I decided to adopt another dog, because our dog Neelix is very codependent, and we were hoping that by getting another dog, he would bond to this dog, and they would become a little pack, and he would be less codependent on us, and, you know. So far, that hasn't worked. Buffy was advertised as a whippet, and she's not. She's probably more of a pit bull. But
She's very sweet.
Oh, she is. She's afraid of everything. She's got brindle coloring like Neelix. She's down here for the first time. We've had her for 2 months. This is the first time she's come to the basement. So, I don't know if she'll come here. Come here. Come here, baby. No. Anyway, we took her with us when we went down to Mississippi for Thanksgiving, and that actually helped. Like, the stress of being in the car that long bonded her to us. We didn't realize that was going to happen. Of course, so she was a great rider in the car, whereas Neelix cried probably a quarter of the time. So, that drove me a
Which is
little
funny,
crazy.
because he loves being in cars.
He does, but he just gets so excited he has to cry all the time. So anyway, the Hugo socks were the first project I'm working on. The second one is the Viagante, which this is what it looks like right now.
Oh my goodness.
It's probably...
Wow, you got that far.
This was where I was when I left Mississippi. So I haven't knit on it a ton. I knit on it a little bit on the ride back. Michael and I swapped out driving. And
It looks a lot further along than it was.
And I actually have decided to modify it a little bit, because the rate of the increases is for every row you increase by 2, but every other row you decrease by 2. So essentially you're just increasing 1 stitch every row, but it makes it at such an angle that it would be too narrow for me until it was really big. So I adjusted the rate of the increases to where I'm only decreasing every 4 rows. I went and read a bunch of project notes and decided to do it for every 4 rows. But anyway, this is hand spun, and I'm really loving the way it's striping. It looks beautiful. And I'm using...
Is that blue too? Everything looks blue.
No, it's green. It's mostly green.
Maybe it's just me.
My shirt is blue, and this is green. So...
If you say so.
Sorry if the camera's not bringing that out. But anyway, I'm enjoying it, but this is a brainless knit as well. I knit this in the evenings sometimes, but I have to be in the mood for it, because even though it's just stockinette with increases and decreases, because the yarn is so fine, you really have to pay attention. And that lives in my Kicks and Giggles bag.
Oh, I didn't show you my bag.
We're talking about me.
I know, but it's my turn again. So I didn't even share the cake. So this is my yarn cake from my mustache yarn. And look at my adorable bag. Isn't that so cute?
Aww.
Sharon sent it to me, and it's flat bottom.
Sweet.
And look, you can see it on the outside. There's that embroidery
stitch, yeah.
And you can see it. I didn't notice it till the inside. It's very cool.
Aww.
So thank you, Sharon. I don't think I sent her a thank you yet. I need to do that.
She's really
But
sweet.
I use it every day. She's very sweet. And it's my Christmas bag. And I'm watching Polar Express with the kids at school.
Over and over and over and over.
Well, okay, so I have 6th grade classes.
You realize that this is going to force me to do more editing and make you big again, right? And make me small again. I'm just letting you know.
That's okay. Well, it's my turn for finished object anyway.
I've still got stuff to talk about.
Oh my goodness. Well, don't make
anyway,
me big.
Go ahead. Polar Express.
So I have 6th grade classes, but I see them once every 2 weeks. So I have a different class twice a day and I have them once every 2 weeks. So it's for 45 minutes. So it's like an hour and a half long movie. So I get to watch it, the first part every day twice for 2 weeks. And then the second part every day twice for 2 weeks. So it's like a 4-week thing.
So you can recite the words to this movie.
The hot chocolate song's my favorite.
I'm glad that you like Christmas. Otherwise, that might be like torturous for you.
It's okay. And it's cool because it lets them watch that, and then the ones that want to check out books can check out books. It keeps them busy. Because at this time of year, they're all up in each other's business.
Because there's a time of year that they're not.
Well, but more so than usual. They get a little stir crazy because they're like, it's Christmas time!
And they're about to get 2 weeks off.
Yep. And I'm about to get 2 weeks off.
I know, I'll get to see you. And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, the last work in progress that I have is the Delancey cardigan, which looks like this. Well, that's what her version looks like.
It's super cute.
Yeah, and she wrote it for smaller sizes and then for plus sizes. The plus size goes from bust or hip measurement of about 45 to about 58. And I'm using Fat Squirrel Fibers in her DK.
She needs to die again because I miss her yarns.
Superwash BFL. I don't know. I guess it doesn't have a base name. But anyway, this is her DK, and it's in Medallion Red, and the darker is the Leslie is a Lush colorway. And it is done except for a button band. So let me get this. I was in the middle of a row when I ran out of yarn, like Tuesday. Haven't touched it since because it required me winding a ball of yarn. So
are you working on the button band now?
Yes.
What did you do? Because last time we had talked, you were debating options for...
So it's bunched up so you really can't see it well. But what I decided to do, in pattern it's written for garter stitch button band. And that's perfectly fine, and I like garter stitch for a lot of things, but I just didn't, because I'm modifying the front so it's got a zip versus buttons. I did not want garter stitch. I felt like it would be too stretchy across one of the widest parts of my body, and I just didn't want that. So what I decided to do instead was moss stitch or seed stitch.
Pretty.
And I did that all the same like length and number of rows and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that on the bottom. I'm doing that on the this is the button band. I'm only a few rows in. And I'm going to add the color in because it adds the stripe of the darker in, and then it goes back to the
Are you going to just
color.
knit one row all the way with when you change the color so you won't get the blips in the different color?
I'm going
it's got that
to whatever
pearl.
The pattern says, because it did that for the garter stitch, it has that. So I think what happens is you switch colors and you knit one row, and then on the way back you start the short rows. So there's no blips with the other color.
Okay. Just because you're doing moss stitch rather than garter.
Right. And I probably will start working on this once we finish recording. Button band is like the hateful last step of any sweater. And I kind of hate doing them because you like finish the sleeves and you finish the body and you're like, woohoo, I'm done. And then you still have to, several hours worth of knitting to finish the button band. And then there's a bajillion ends to weave in for this particular sweater. And I'm knitting this on size 8 signature fixed needles. and that's what the back looks like. I'm really digging the red on red, actually. I'm
really digging it in general. I think it looks nice.
I wasn't sure how I was going to like the red on red, but I really do like it. So, actually, maybe I'll knit on that right now, since I finally caked up the other skein while I was waiting on Laura. And I'm getting a phone call from FaceTime audio. That was the weirdest thing ever. So anyway, that's what I've got. I have an FO, but I feel like I've been talking forever, so why don't you talk?
Okay. I finished Alice's blanket, which is why Leslie was waiting on me. So, this week, I feel like I should take a step back so y'all can see the whole thing.
Woo!
Can you see it? I can't see through you.
Yes, sort of. Although it might be better if you stood up so you could see the whole thing.
How about I fold it into half, and then you can still see all the colors, but it's halved. Ha. So it starts out with the purple cascade in the center, and then it goes to a green vintage, and then it goes to a brown cascade 220. All these are superwash. Then it goes to Dream in Color Classy. Then there is both purple and pink Zara, those two. Then there is an orange Cascade 220 Superwash. Then the only variegated, which was Liberty Wool. Mm-hmm. Then Dream in Color Classy in the Cloud Jungle. Then Vintage in a green. And then Miss Babs Yowza What a Skein in purple at the very end.
How much of that Yowza did you use for the outside edge?
It's hard to tell because I had used it on that other Stephen West shawl, Urbana, and you crocheted the edge for me.
Oh, that's right. That shawl. Yeah, I remember.
So it's hard to tell how much. I would say probably, well, the green, I can tell you, took around 320 yards. So probably around 350.
So you don't have very much of it left.
I have enough probably to do a hat.
Yeah.
I probably have like 100 and... How big are her skeins? Let's look.
They're 560 yards, I'm pretty sure.
You know all the things. That is correct. So if I used around, let's say 50 yards for the edging of that shawl for the crochet.
What yarn is that? What color is that?
This one is Shining City.
It's pretty.
Thank you. I bought it at SSK. It's a Babette, which means one of a kind. So 560. I used, what did I say? 350
320
for this.
On the previous round.
Okay, so like probably I have around 160 yards left over, maybe 200. So enough to do a hat. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking actually of doing the barley hat out of it.
From Tin Can Knits.
Yep. Their simple collection. It's a free pattern. But that's it. It's done, except for, what do the Knitmores call it when it needs a soak and the ends woven in?
A block away.
A block away. So it's got around 30 ends that needs to be woven in. And it's around 40 inches right now. I'm thinking it's going to become around 42 by 42 when it's blocked. It's getting blocked in the kitchen sink later, which will be clean.
But you're going to weave the ends first, right?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
I am like Mama Bear on this. I'm just asking.
I'm going to weave in ends.
Sad.
But I won't cut them until after I've blocked, like after it's been blocked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lay it out on the guest bed with towels down. Mm-hmm. And block it and just lay it pretty flat. I'm not going to like pin it or anything.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see a need for that.
And I'll roll it up in towels and do it that way. And if it gets to where the superwash is stretched too much and it's slightly damp, I'll throw it in the dryer and kind of allow it to bounce back. So that is the ginormous log cabin blanket.
It's awesome.
Thank
Alice
you.
will love it.
I hope so. It's her very belated birthday, and I think I'm going to mail it.
Why? Why don't you you're going up there in a week and a half.
I know, but it's a birthday present, and I'm afraid
Goodness.
I don't want to take it, and then Julia won't have anything because it's
She's
late
not
birthday.
going to have anything if you mail it either.
I know, but then it's different. I don't know. I haven't decided. People with kids should let me know what I should do.
I say you should give Alice the blanket and then give Julia a huge piece of candy. I'm sure Emily would love that. Sorry, Em.
They sent me stickers back. The girls did from the sticker books I sent them. They each sent me a sticker.
That's sweet.
Oma brought them to me. I already ordered them the Mystery My Little Ponies.
Mystery My Little Pony.
Remember the thing that we got Jessica?
Oh,
where
the ones that weren't, like,
they're
you
like the
can't see
Lego
what they
figures,
are.
so you can't see what they are. ThinkGeek had a set of 5 for like $14, and they were running free shipping. And Mom said they really liked the ones that I sent up before, so that gives 2 for each of them and 1 for Jessica, since she needs a pony.
Always.
So I told her last night I bought her a pony.
You guys can't see, but Buffy has just been sitting here. She's just like my little guard over here.
Aww.
I don't know why.
So that's my only finished object.
I finished an object while Laura was finishing her object. I spent this past week, I felt really like just icky and off balance, and so I spent a lot of time just sort of sitting and knitting. And I spent today, it was probably not a good idea because I already felt gross, so I spent today catching up on American Horror Story on Netflix, which is not for the children.
Or for me, probably.
Probably not. I had watched the first season ages ago. They just put the second season on Netflix this week, and the third season I think just wrapped up on regular TV. But I don't have regular TV. I just use Netflix, and Amazon Prime, and my internet service. I can watch shows on their website. Anyway, so I finished my fishnets intentional striping. And this is in the Pretty Bird colorway. I used a US size 1 2.25 needle with the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I think is my default heel from now on, unless their pattern requires something different. Because it's very easy, I don't have to look anything up, and I like the fit of it. So
there you go.
I probably will soak these as soon as we're finished so that I can wear them tomorrow, because nothing beats the pair of a brand new set. Or nothing beats the feeling of a brand new set of hand knit socks. Love the first wear of hand knit socks. Makes me happy. My friend Suze has knit 14 pairs since July.
Wow, that's a lot of pairs of socks.
Yeah, which is crazy. And she just motors away. She just keeps on knitting socks.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I told her she needs to knit them in my size. Because I'll actually wear them.
Will she not wear them?
She doesn't wear any of her hand knits, which is just silly.
That is a little bit silly.
I have no spinning.
I have spinning. When Humbert has not been sitting in my chair. I started, and I was actually supposed to mail it out by December 1st for my friend Jessica. I started spinning her...
Is this why she has a guilt pony?
Yes. And it's going with her Christmas present, so it's okay. So this is Hello Yarn in Targi, and the vacuum! I caught it in the one Hello Yarn update I've ever caught in my life. And
Does she do, like, non-club updates?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You should pay more attention to things.
You're so nice.
I should tell you when things happen.
That'd be nice.
But then there'd be less stuff for me. So, whatever. She posts it in her group. I like how I have to move the fiber all the time when I'm talking to you, because you can't see me. Anyway, so it's got a light blue, a rusty orange, some brown, and some pink. And I finished the first bobbin, which looks like this. And it is, besides this last little bit kind of funky on me because it broke. But it's spinning up pretty thin. I would say around 24 wraps per inch, maybe a little bit more. But it's a nice, like, meaty wool. It's not super soft, but it's got a nice grip to it. It kind of reminds me of Shetland a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Jess loves Shetland, so that she's actually knitting a sweater out of hand spun Shetland. But it's spinning up really, really pretty.
Was this her like second or third hand spun hand knit sweater?
I think it's her second.
I'm so jealous.
I just love going into the David of Southern Cross Fibers, and then Adrian of Hello Yarn, and Spunky Eclectic, Boogie, Amy. All have like wonderful groups with very inspirational spinners, and I just love going in there and looking at everyone else's cool things that they've spun and knit for. But that's what I'm spinning. That's the only thing really I've spun. So the first half is done. I'm going to try to finish the second half. I'm going to work on it tonight. It took me around 10 hours to spin the first bobbin, so I'm banking it on it taking, I have a little bit on the wheel now, I just broke it off. So I'm bringing the fiber.
Yeah.
So I'm banking on it probably taking another 9 hours throughout the week, and hopefully applying, and I'll wash it and send it on its way. And maybe there'll be a pony here by then.
The guilt pony.
It's the best kind of My Little Pony.
Name this week.
So that's it for me for spinning. We have a book review this week. It's a very cool, unusual book.
It is, and Laura sent it to me. All good things come in a link from Laura. So I could tell when I got to work on Friday that Laura didn't have kids in the school. They did like a half day because of weather.
Yep.
And I could tell immediately because she was online and she was like sending me like, hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Hey, check this out.
Yep.
So
I actually had time, and I watched a podcast Friday night. I watched Fat Squirrel from back when she went to Stitches. I'm catching up slowly.
So we have some new items for review on the way. And we also have this book for review. And we're going to be doing a giveaway for this week, for this particular book. And it's a skill that we don't talk about a lot. Laura and I both are very beginner weavers.
Mm-hmm.
And this book called to us. It's called Kismet, and it's put out by Hill Country Weavers. And the intent of this book is to grab the attention of beginner weavers who are already knitters. So it's intended to sort of bring together those two audiences.
And it's when weaving meets knit and crochet for the most part. And it's all done on rigid headed looms. So like a Cricut, or I think Ashford has one, or the Shocked Flip.
Yep.
And there's other brands out there, I'm sure, as well.
And so it's got, throughout the book, it's got like 20 pages of how-tos at the end, which we'll touch on then, but it's also got 15 or 20 projects, and at the bottom of the page where the projects are, it's got a key that tells you if it's got that particular character, it means it involves weaving, it involves knitting, it involves crochet, sewing, embroidery, etc. So you, at the very beginning of a project, you already know what it involves.
Yep. And the first is a shawl called Happenstance. And it's really pretty. It's woven. And I really like it.
Very simple. It's the simplest possible project. Well, it's the simplest one in this book. It's just a very simple direct warp with color blocking in the warp. And
it uses mohair, which I actually have quite a bit of old mohair that I got when it was popular to hold like mohair together with another yarn and knit scarves. So I have a ton of old mohair from that this would be perfect for.
And it's very loosely woven, so it's not densely packed in there. It's a very airy shawl, which I think is really cool. And it also talks about how to find color repeats in your yarn. It'll be hard to see this, but it talks about laying your yarn out to find the color blocks, which I think is very useful. There are some knitted items that use the color blocking, which I think is really cool. I've never quite mastered that.
The next project uses both felting and weaving.
I dig this project. I can't tell you why, but I really do.
It's very chic. Yeah. And it's moire,
I think. And it's a very roughly cinched scarf.
And it uses mostly silks, linens, cottons, rayons, and then there's a felting technique that simulates the ruching in the finished scarf. So it's great if you go to like Stitches and you get that one skein of Habu linen stainless steel or something like that. or alchemy, because I love alchemy, but I have like, when I bought it, I would buy like one skein because that's what my budget would allow me to do.
Yarn. Mm-hmm.
So very, very pretty, very chic, and I like the cowboy boots too. That's very cool.
The next one I really like is called Rainbow of Fortune. It involves weaving, knitting, crocheting, and sewing, and it's a very cool way to get a big garment off of a small rigid heddle loom. So it's color blocked. Each color is woven separately and then visibly whip stitched together, so there's no intention of trying to hide the stitching, which I think gives it a very charming look.
Yeah.
And you could do tones of the same color. You could do color like monochrome, black and white, or add in that pop of yellow, which is very popular right now.
And it uses a Manos yarn that's a worsted, so it would be very easy to use up stash that's sitting around your house. I like the Milk and Cookies too, which uses weaving, knitting, and sewing. And it's very cute.
Yeah,
I think
it'd
wrap.
be a great way, because for me, any kind of intricate lace work sort of intimidates me. But this gives you just a taste of it at the beginning, and then a much simpler progression, and then a little taste of it again at the end. So it's not quite as intimidating as a full project would be. I really like the PB&J scarf, which is simple weave, but it's done where the warp is all done in one color, but the weft is done in sections of leftovers. So you might have a bunch of similarly toned yarn, and you just weave in blocks of those until you've used it all, and then you move on to the next color.
It's like using a magic cake type thing.
That's a very good analogy.
I like Faded Fortune as well. It's just a simple shawl that's 12 inches wide and 80 inches long. I like the fringe on that a lot, but it's what I think of when I think of rigid heddle weaving for the most part. It's just really, really pretty. And it uses a tencel to make it very drapey, but also very workable for any climate.
I like the Wine and Roses, and this is truly it's sort of half and half, maybe a little more, maybe 2/3 weaving and 1/3 knitting. It's got the multicolored panel is woven, and then the single blue color is knitted, and so it's, you bring the two crafts together and you add buttons on for maybe you only had, maybe the multicolored bit is that precious hand spun that you got at the one festival and it just meant so much to you, and you can combine it with a solid and really stretch it out, which I think is a great way to do it.
Yep. I really like Serendipity, which combines weaving, knitting, and sewing.
I love this one.
It uses Liberty wool, which I used on the blanket, and Liberty wool is like a self-patterning wool similar to Noro. And so it's all pretty much a simple weave, but the yarn does most of the work.
It's similar to Nora, like you said. And I love the color palette that they chose for that.
Yeah, and it's woven in strips and then joined together.
Yeah, and it shows you here the schematic of how it's done, so that's also easy. This next pattern is the reason that I wanted this book. I will not lie. And I will be wearing this at Next SSK. You mark my words. I loved it. It's called Constellation. It uses weaving, knitting, crochet, and some sewing. And it is a skirt, and their panels are woven, joined together with knitted sections. The solid is knitted, and it's done with short rows. And then there's an edging applied, and then you do an elastic waistband so that it doesn't have to be exact. And all the woven pieces are woven in one stretch, and then you cut them somehow. I don't know. Yeah. I've never done this, so
it's cut because you can cut woven fabric pretty easily.
But look at that! Isn't it beautiful? I'm totally going to wear that with tights next year.
You need Mama Linneman to come hang out with you for a week, and y'all could do that.
I love it so much. It is so pretty, and I love that it's got panels and it's flowy, and I think it's brilliant. I can't wait to make it. It doesn't have my size in here, but I don't care. I'll make it work. It's no big deal.
You can add probably an extra panel or
Yeah.
make the knitted panels a little bit wider.
Yeah.
I love the Gin and Tonic with a Twist, which uses weaving, crochet, and sewing.
And that is
It's a
actually a very
houndstooth.
simple weaving two-color pattern. I've done houndstooth before.
So very, very pretty. And I like the pop of the other color, and it uses a baby alpaca bamboo viscose, but I'm sure it's a worsted, so you could use a bunch of different colors, use up some stash.
I like the yin and the yang. It's sort of a plaid look, and it's a lot simpler than it looks. It just involves some planning on color blocking, and it's just a simple weave. You just have to plan for when you're going to do what. So, and that's another one that they recommend using a mohair. It's mohair and cashmere, and it has a crocheted edge, but it's also got charting, and when I looked at this, I had no idea what this meant. Like, I can't relate a chart to weaving because I've never used that. But once you get into the back, it's got wonderful information. Let's see.
I like Star-Crossed, which is both a wrap, but also gloves, and I actually really like the gloves. So there's the wrap, and that utilizes weaving, knitting, crochet, and sewing. And then here are the fingerless gloves, which I really, really like.
I like those a lot too.
And I like the color palette that they chose. And it's on, it uses fiber companies, so of course it's going to be gorgeous. And it's just, and Madeline Tosh Merino Light. So just really, really pretty, and it allows the yarn to shine.
I like the Northern Lights, which is a very heavy sort of stole scarf, and it can be worn sort of like a stole as it is here and belted, or as a large scarf. And it's very simple weave, and there's some edging and fringe done, but it would go really quickly because it's done in a heavier yarn.
And I think that's perfect for the kind of climate where I live, or fall or spring near you, where you don't need a coat, but you need something that's a little warmer to wrap up in. I think that's pretty perfect. Like Leslie said, there are some awesome tutorials in the back, and let me just show you the direct warping, some of the pictures for that. Yep. So you can see there, nice clear pictures, which I need because I always struggle with warping.
It goes into reading a draft and how to read essentially the charts that you would see here, and apply them to weaving when you may already have a knowledge of knitting.
And then finishing techniques, hem stitching, which is one of my bears that I really need to work on. That is in here, as well as fringing and some other techniques. And there's again, nice clear illustrations.
How to use your sewing machine to stabilize the edging and the hems. How to join pieces. Very simple whip stitch, but clear, nice, easy pictures.
And if you're new to knitting, crochet, or have a struggle with any of the abbreviations, there are abbreviations. List of both knitting, crochet, and then weaving terms, which I appreciate being a new weaver.
Yeah, because
and
sometimes
a
they'll
not good
say,
crocheter in the back.
Knit until you're, there's this much left in the dent. I don't know what a dent is. Like, I just sort of put the loom together and I wove a few things, and it's just been sitting since then. But I like that they assume that you might need a reminder of what that is. But
and this retails, it does come in both print and
digital
ebook versions, and the print version is $23.95, and the digital, let me look up real fast.
And we worked with the ladies there, Kennedy at Hill Country Weavers, who actually watches our show, which was really sweet. She's offering a discount, a 10% discount on this book if you buy it through Hill Country Weavers and use the discount code TheKnitGirlls, 3 L's. You can get a 10% discount off on the digital download or the print version, whichever you prefer.
And the Hill Country Weavers started in the 80s. It's a group of people who formed kind of like a guild. And so that is available there. Hold on. I guess I need to go to shop. fail at looking things up correctly.
I just was really smitten with this book because I guess it kind of is how some people see knitting or crochet from the outside. Like, why would you do that? You could buy that at Walmart for, $3.
Yeah.
You get a pack of 10 socks. Why would you knit your own? And weaving, I wanted to learn, but I never really had a passion for doing any particular weaving project. But this really has ignited, I want that skirt in a bad way. So I really need to plot and plan what yarns I want to use, because weaving does eat a lot of yarn. It eats a lot, but it's a benefit because you can go through those single skeins of, sock yarn that you've bought or what have you.
Yep.
So.
Kismet is available on the Hill Country Weavers website, which is hillcountryweavers.com. It is $19.50 for the ebook, and you would get 10% off that, or $23.95 for the print version. There is a little bit of errata in the Wine and Roses pattern, just 2 rows. The moss stitch is off on the knitting directions, so y'all could probably figure that out pretty easily. We are giving away an ebook copy, correct?
Yes, we are.
So we want you to go over to the Hill Country Weavers website, and they have not only this book, but bunches and bunches of other patterns, and tell us which pattern is your favorite. And they also sell kits as well.
Yeah, why don't you give us one item that would be on your wish list from their website?
That sounds perfect, because they also just have knitting things as well. Like they carry some of like Classy with Cashmere or Knitter's Pride Dreams. So just head over to Hill Country Weavers, and like I said earlier, they're actually hillcountryweavers.mybigcommerce.com.
That's their shop, which you can get to from hillcountryweavers.com.
Yep.
So, and we thank them and Kennedy over at Hill Country Weavers for sending us a review copy, because it gives us the opportunity to talk to you guys about it. And I know we do have a fair number of weavers in our group.
And some people who might want to be weavers at some point.
Who wants to wear that skirt with me at SSK? I'm so excited about that skirt.
That's very cool. I don't wear skirts.
Wear with it, but we'll figure it out. So yeah. Favorite things.
Favorite things.
You know what we didn't do? We didn't pick a question from the thread. So why don't you talk about favorite things, and I'll go find a question.
Okay. So, K8
Caterpillar.
Yes. Sent us, and that is Kate. Ha 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 ha. And she's on Etsy, and she sent us some stitch markers. So I wanted to say thank you to her. Look, they're little Knit Girl stitch markers.
I love them. She sent me some too. They're so cute.
So those are super cute, and I can't wait to use those. I've seen her stuff before. I think the Mustache Girls saw them in their shop.
Do they? That's cool.
I think so. And I think she's got an Etsy shop. Did I see that on here? Yep. So she's got some cool, if you're into the stitch markers that have shrink eatings. But I like the fact that hers have the nice closed hook already there. So that'll be nice. I'm excited about those. I need to put those on a project. I need to cast on a new project.
I know. I'm really excited. As soon as I finish the sweater, I'm going to make myself finish the band, and then I'm going to cast on several new things, just because I feel like I want to, and I don't often want to. So.
And so I also got and this was a couple weeks ago, but Leslie was here, and I wasn't going to brag on it in front of her. She can't have it. It's all mine. I got Into the World Club in the Surreality colorway, and it's the Classic Club, and it is gorgeous. It's blues and greens, but it's a new to me base. It is a superwash BFL nylon blend.
Cool.
So this is going to become some socks, because I had a really bad day on Sunday, and all I did was come home and put on my hand-spun hand-knit socks, and it made everything a little bit better. So I was in a car accident on Sunday, y'all, but I'm okay. The car is not, but I'm okay.
We're still waiting to hear the diagnosis of the car.
Because there was the ice storm here in Mississippi. So they lost some days of work because of the ice storm. Because people don't work in Mississippi when it snows or gets a quarter inch of ice,
I would
which
say
I
we
love.
got maybe 3.5, 4 inches of snow today, and I was thinking, man, if this was Mississippi, they'd already closed the schools for tomorrow.
We'd be closed through Tuesday, probably.
So,
yeah.
All right, so the next question that I could find, that I was sure we had answered, and we may have skipped one, so we'll have to go back and look, but was from Amy Light, actually, who you worked with to get your club done, and there are several questions.
Okay.
So, the first is, whatever happened to Mr. Awesome's fish tank truck? I'm still completely obsessed by how he converted his truck into a tank. So, for new-ish viewers who have not had the patience to go and watch all of our old episodes, I do not blame you at all. But when we moved from Mississippi to New Jersey, when we found out for sure that we were moving, because Michael was offered this position, he waffled for like 6 months, which was super fun, and then he finally decided, and we had like 6 months to sort of, get everything in order to get the house on the market, yada, yada, yada. I assumed that moving across the country, we would take the cats, the bunny, and the dog. But the fish, we had called a couple of moving companies about getting the tank moved, because we had one tank that was like 75 gallons, which is big, but it's not the big tank. The big tank is 225 gallons, and even though it's on wheels, like it's on a stand that has wheels, it is 1,000 pounds empty with nothing in it, no water, nothing. And so we called a couple of companies who were willing to move it only if it was empty. It would cost us several $1,000s, and they didn't guarantee it got there in one piece. All of them had these caveats. So Michael decided that he would, we ended up moving the tank in a pod, like those moving, it's like a trailer, sort of, that you pack all your stuff in and they move it for you. So he converted the back of his truck into a fish tank, complete with shocks and filtration and heating and lights and all this. There's a link somewhere back in one of our threads with pictures. So anyway, the fish were in his truck for probably a month and a half, because they were in there for 2 weeks before we moved, and then we moved. That process was like a week, and then we got here, and it took 3 weeks for the pod to get here that had the fish tank in it. So they lived
because your pod got delayed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which was fun because we didn't have any of our stuff. It was awesome. Anyway, so during that whole process, I would say there were probably 100 fish between the two tanks that were combined, and we only lost one, and his name was Arnold, and we don't normally name our fish, but he was the biggest one. He was this Midas cichlid that had this bulbous thing on his head, and that was his species. They all have that. It wasn't anything wrong, but we joked that it's not a tumor, so we called him Arnold. And he died, and we think it was just the stress, because he had already passed away by the time we got here. So we lost one fish, which Neelix dug up about a month later.
Because you had buried him.
Yes, and rolled around. Because he's not the kind of fish that you could flush. He was this long. He's not the kind of fish you can flush. So they all survived, except for one. And now we have one room in our house that isn't over the basement. It's just on foundation, and that's the room that the tank is in. And we have another tank in our kitchen, which is about 100 gallons, in that range.
It's a corner tank, correct?
It is. It fits in a corner. It was given to us by Michael's old boss, because he has several saltwater tanks. Anyhow, so that's the saga of the fish tank. The next question is, Laura, what are your favorite audiobooks to craft by? I just listened to Dark is Rising and loved it.
I love Dark is Rising.
I'm devouring the Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant trilogy, which I just realized Divergent is being made into a movie, so I'm excited about that. I was disappointed at the ending of Allegiant, but whatever.
I haven't gotten that far yet. Favorite things audiobook-wise? I have a wide variety. I'm not gonna lie, the Janet Ivanoviches are probably my favorite.
That's A is for something, B is for something.
No, that's Sue Grafton. They're one for the money. Two, okay. They're the number ones, and I think she just published 20. I just bought it, or 21. Lorelei King, who narrates those, is absolutely hysterical, especially when she does some of the prostitutes' voices, because it takes place in Trenton, New Jersey, and it's definitely an adult series. So I love that series. That's probably my all-time favorite. I like some of Bill Bryson's, like Walk in the Woods. He does primarily travel narratives, but also some historical text and some etymology of English language type stuff, so he's nonfiction. I like him. I like Neil Gaiman's Stardust.
Neil Gaiman narrates a lot of his own, which I always like to hear an author narrate their books, because you pick up a lot of the attitude that you might have missed otherwise.
I like the Dresden Files, also an adult series, so I guess that's 3 adult series so far. Kids books that I've enjoyed, I've listened to all the Rick Riordans. They're pretty well, but it took me a little while to get used to the narrator. I love Tamora Pierce. I like her books. She just had a new one done, but I really like the, and that would be upper middle school type stuff for most of them. She does fantasy. I like her stuff. I don't know. Let me see what else is on I have the Audible app on my phone, which is one of my favorite things in the world. I listened to Avalon High coming back from Leslie's house. That was pretty good. I like Meg Cabot as a whole. For me, it's the narrator, and I prefer Audible because I can figure out what exactly. I like the Terry Pratchett's too.
Yeah, I like the Wee Freeman kids series.
I love the Maria Snyder, the Poison Study series is one of my favorite all times. I have all the Susan Cooper. She mentioned Dark is Rising. I like Ellie Carter. She's a kids book author. She has one about a girl who does like a spy. She goes to a spy school. One of those is Only the Good Spy Young. And they're all like parodies like that. I like her stuff a lot too. And I have a lot of stuff on here. I like My Life in France by Julia Child. That's one of my favorites as well.
We listened to that a while back on a trip from somewhere. You and I did.
Bloodhound by Tamora Pierce. That series is one of my favorite series. Yeah, I love the Maria Snyders. I don't think you can go wrong with those. They're appropriate for like high school age kids as well. And the Tamora Pierces and then the Jana Ivanoviches are probably my favorite, and the Dresden Files.
This is a question Laura could spend a year answering.
Yeah, probably. And I think I have like 500 audiobooks on my Audible account because I've been a member since like 2004.
Yeah.
And one year my sister gave me a year's worth for Christmas, which is an awesome Christmas present.
Yeah. I'll occasionally, when they have sales, like, get 6 credits for, $30 or whatever, because I'll use them. Michael and I, occasionally, if we're doing a long-distance drive, like the one back from Mississippi, he wanted to download a Star Trek book. So and so it's like a credit, but you only get 3 hours worth of book for that, which kind of sucks.
So the way Audible works is for $14.95 a month. It's an Amazon affiliate now. You get a book.
One credit.
One credit. And
most books are
one credit. And then when like the new Twilight book, when that first came out, it was like 2. Or the new, they don't do Harry Potter. There's some things that copyright will not allow them to do. Scholastic is pretty hardcore about their copyrights. But most books are on there. And also, if you have a Kindle, you can link it to your Kindle account, and so it'll pick back up if you stop listening and you read for a little while, you have both the book and the audiobook, it'll pick back up where you left off.
It'll sync, yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
You have to own both copies, but you can usually, if you buy one, you can usually get the other at a discounted price.
Yep, that is true. So, those are my favorite. Was there anything else?
Yes. To both of us, what are your favorite sock yarns and why? I would say, I'm not going to name a particular person. I would just say mine are generally either a merino nylon or a BFL nylon blend. 75-25 or 80-20, because I'm really hard on my socks. My favorite socks that I've ever knit, my Moonshine Robot Unicorn Attack, that I love. They were 100% merino and they got a hole in them. Just last week, which sucks. I'm going to darn them. They will be the first socks I've ever darned because I love them so much that I can't not have them. But for me, I'll never knit another sock that doesn't have nylon in it.
Yeah, I'm big on the nylon blends, especially. What's on my feet today? Let's see. Oh, I have opal on. Opal and regia work very well for me, and I appreciate those, even though they're not indie dyed. There's some of my favorites. I don't know. I'm a hard person to say. I have a lot of socks in my sock drawer. So they rotate quite a bit.
Mine do not.
So,
I've probably got maybe 24, and they rotate, but I tend to go back to the ones that fit me the best and wear them the most often. Today, I'm wearing some old ones. These are Jaywalker and It's Felici, which is a nylon blend, and they're holding up really well. There's some pilling on the bottom, but there's also dog hair on the bottom because I have dogs. So
yeah. So mine rotate quite a bit. I don't know. It's hard. Obviously, as I've knit more, self-striping socks are kind of my go-to. Don't have to think about brainless, for the most part.
But you still get pleasure out of them.
Yeah. They can fit in my purse well, so I tend to go with self-striping. And then just pretty variegates, which then I do patterns for when I'm not going out and about. So
the last question from her is famous last words from the TheKnitGirlls. Something you said you'd never try or do, but did, and now you love it.
Spinning. A long time I would not spin. Probably 7 years. I was like, nope, never gonna spin. Never. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. And then one day I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Hey, Leslie, let's go try out a wheel.
Let's go try out a wheel. Because even though my mom had like 5 wheels, we couldn't try out any of the wheels here. We had to go rent a wheel because one of our local yarn shops in Memphis rents wheels. So we went and rented a wheel. But that was for me. Like, right now, in the past, it's been definitely the spinning. I held out for a long time on spinning because I knew it was such an investment of time and money, especially. Spinning wheels are not cheap. And I get very into knitting. And going into the future, I'm never going to be a quilter. Like,
I think that you could probably keep that one because you are self-admittedly not great at cutting straight lines.
That's very true.
And I have learned the hard way that quilting demands precision.
Yeah, I'm not a precision person.
I'm learning that the hard way. So I wasn't into knitting long enough to say I'll never spin because I started knitting and then Laura and I almost immediately started spinning within a couple of years for me. So I didn't really have time for that. I would say I was very adamant about weaving. About not weaving because I had friends who had big, huge looms, and I was not going to spend that kind of money on a loom. I'm not saying I never will. I'm saying at this point, I don't have aspirations of doing anything complicated enough to need, several 8-head loom or whatever. So
you're not going to make 200 yards of fabric.
Yeah, no.
That's like what Mom's production loom will hold or something crazy like that.
I admire the skill. But for me, for the longest time, I didn't want to weave. And I still do not have aspirations of weaving anything very intricate or complicated because I feel like maybe it's just because I haven't seen some of the amazing things that could be woven. And that's probably it, honestly. But I'm comfortable being a hobby weaver versus I would consider myself a career knitter. Like, I'm going to be knitting for a long time. I better, considering the stash that I have. Same with spinning. But I don't see myself weaving forever, or often, I guess.
Yep.
So, anyway, back to favorite things. You wanted to talk about the Calendar of Hope.
The Calendar of Hope is a pattern calendar that is put out by Fitter Knitter, and you can find it on fitterknitter.com. And all the proceeds from that benefit Army of Women, which is a breast cancer resource organization. And they do 12 patterns. Primarily, they are dishcloth patterns, but this year they also have some other things, but they all can be knit out of like a skein or 2 skeins of dishcloth cotton. So I wanted to tell you all about that, and you can find more details on that at fitterknitter.com. And
we'll
it's a great cost.
In the show notes.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't done our Make-A-Wish. We didn't do that this year because
Lynn was moving.
So we'll probably do that again next year. And we try to talk about some charities, but we don't tend to overwhelm you guys. Although if you do represent a charity or you're working with one, you're welcome to put it in our Pimp Yourself thread. I know that gets read often because every time somebody updates it, I go look because I'm like, ooh, what do I need that's new? Even though I try not to buy. We do have a giveaway for this week. It is the Kicks and Giggles bag giveaway.
We have 2 Kicks and Giggles bags, and we asked y'all to do it's kicksandgigglesshop.etsy.com. And we asked y'all to do a random act of kindness and post about that in a thread on Ravelry. And we have, let me go ahead and look and see. Oh, I need to log into Ravelry. I am fail. I was running late trying to get up here because Leslie was waiting on me. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. There are 187 entries, which I love.
Yes, and also, just as a note, the Knitmore Girls are doing a giveaway.
They do a big thing every year.
Do some good. That's what it is. I couldn't think of it, but they're doing do some good giveaways, and they have a couple of slightly more specific instructions, but you can win some really great stuff. So if you're interested, you can go look at that. So we're going to pick 2 numbers between 2 and 187. So I'm using my random.org app. You can see I've got the number between 2 and 187. So we'll generate the number, and it says number 67 is the first winner.
I'm thinking that's on
3rd page.
Let me make it big. It's being hateful.
My dog is barking.
So,
I don't know why.
that is Barbara Nelson, who had a roof in her leak, and she's in an apartment.
I'm sorry, she had a roof in her leak?
A leak in her roof. Dude. I had a leak in my roof too, but it got repaired right before the ice storm. And she's in Alaska, and her high was 28 degrees.
Eek.
And so they brought over space heaters and lamps, and so she baked jammy Dodgers for them in the front office where the apartment manager was calm and quick. So she made them, I guess, cookies.
That's sweet.
As a thank you for getting there quick.
Inconvenienced to make something for someone else. That's very nice.
So she gets a very cool bag, which I get to send to Alaska.
Cool.
So
I don't know if we've
go
ever sent
ahead.
anything to Alaska.
I don't think we have.
Maybe we have.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so the number still shows 67, so I'll generate a new number. And it says 122. So that should be on the 5th page.
Penny Schwartz is sending Christmas cards to soldiers in hospitals and away from home. So very, very cool. So contact me, and I will send your bag out to you.
Yep.
So very cool. And I am behind. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm behind in mailing because now I don't have a car. So I was already behind, but now I'm, because of house stuff, taking up every second of every day. And now I'm even further behind because I have no way to get it to the post office.
I don't have that excuse, but I am about a month behind in mailing out prizes. And I'm sorry, but it is free, and you'll get it just as soon as I can get my butt to the post office.
So we apologize for that, but we'll get there. We promise.
So just as a closing note, Michael's Dolphins played Laura Steelers today.
They did.
And it was one of the few games they've won this year.
The Dolphins won, yeah.
The Dolphins. Yeah.
It's one of the few games.
But it was close from what I heard. Like, they ran a touchdown, but he stepped out of bounds or something by like this much. And
yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't at your house during that time. But
I don't have it on the TV, so I was listening to it, but it was fun.
Okay.
I was fervently working on the baby blanket trying to get it done, so. It was, we were watching the Eagles game for a good bit because they have snow. So that was pretty cool.
They had snow in Miami during this game.
Oh, really?
Crazy. Yeah.
That's cool. I want snow here, but there is none to be had.
Well, there's snow here. You're welcome to it.
I'll be there in a couple weeks.
That's
We'll
true.
see.
So hopefully we'll get to record while Laura's here.
We might be a day late because I'm not getting up there till Sunday.
Whatever.
So it might be off a little bit. So we'll see.
It'll be worth it to be in the same room.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we were leaving on Friday, but we're leaving on Saturday, which is actually nice because it gives me my house closing's on the 19th. So it'll give me an extra day to make sure that the power's turned on and essential things that cause heat to flow and pipes not to freeze. So that'll be good.
All right, so this episode is long enough. It's over an hour, so we are going to let you go, and we'll see you again next weekend. So wherever you are, we hope that you stay warm and have a good one.
Bye, y'all.